So I think by now you must have seen Madam in different places.
Yes, sir.
Madam is a highly known and respected editor in the country. She is now a editor in Shillong Times. And I think somebody will give a formal introduction, right?
Yes.
So let us listen to that. Madam.
Don't make it too long.
Oh, what is this? What you are doing?
It's the orientation video which we made.
Oh, you have made it. Okay. No sound?
You should stand for a culture of excellence. The excellence not by accident. It is a process.
And we believe that in this we have to focus more on personalized learning. The university should be closely associated with the community. And the last thing which we are focusing more in this university is the research orientation.
From the pristine glistening forest glades, untouched emerald hills, sanctified with its unsullied air, thawed hearts on the roller coaster roads, flanked with sun-kissed waterfalls and forest pines, to within the bustling city of joy, affectionately called the Scotland of the East. Welcome to National Law University, Meghalaya.
You should stand for a culture of excellence.
Patricia Mukhim, a prominent Indian social activist, writer and journalist, has dedicated her life to championing social causes and elevating the voices of the marginalized. She has earned the recognition and respect for her unwavering commitment to journalism and social change. Ms. Mukhim initially embarked on a career as a teacher. However, destiny had other plans for her. In 1987, she took to journalism, where her gift for the written word truly flourished. In 2008, Ms. Mukhim's remarkable journey led her to the helm of the Shillong Times, becoming the editor of the first English language daily in Meghalaya. Ms. Mukhim's unwavering dedication to her craft has earned her numerous accolades and honors. In 1995 and 1996, she was bestowed with the Chameli Devi Jain Award for Outstanding Women Media Person, and then again in 2014 with the Chameli Devi Jain Award. Her contributions to journalism were further recognized by the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry when they honored her with the FLO Award for Excellence in Journalism in 2008. The year 2008 also marked the presentation of the Upendranath Brahma Soldier of Humanity Award, a testament to Ms. Mukhim's tireless efforts in serving humanity through her work. In 2009, the Shiva Prasad Borua National Award recognized her exceptional contributions to journalism. The pinnacle of Ms. Mukhim's achievements came in 2000 when the Government of India bestowed upon her prestigious Padma Shri, one of the nation's highest civilian awards in recognition of her outstanding contributions to society and community. Her dedication to the Northeastern region did not go unnoticed as she was selected for the Northeast Excellence Award in 2011. Ms. Mukhim's remarkable journey continues, and in 2014 she received the One India Award, adding yet another jewel to the crown of her achievements. Her legacy is one of resilience, compassion and unwavering dedication to social change, making her an enduring inspiration to all who aspire to make a difference in the world. Welcome her with a round of applause.
This is a small gift.
much to do, there's so much to put in that I didn't know how to start making. By the way, how many of you have read Hamlet Bare Ngapkinta's book on Khasi society, politics? No? I think that should be a recommended book for reading. Because there's been a lot about this society, not just this society, but also the Garos, the other sub-tribes amongst the Khasis. So I was given this theme of politics and society in Meghalaya. I don't know why a journalist's standpoint was added, because I think we all look at politics and society with the same mindset, with the same frame. Perhaps journalists are a little bit more curious than others in asking all kinds of questions. And I think that curiosity should actually be the brief of all of you who are in universities. The problem with our society, I don't know how it is elsewhere, but at least here, we ask very few questions. If you don't ask questions, you don't get answers. Then we complain that there's no responsive governance, this doesn't work, traffic jams and this, but we don't do anything about them. So I keep telling people in universities, if we go through a university, get a degree, but don't learn how to question the status quo, then the universities have failed us, or we have failed the universities. So when we speak of Khasi, Jaintia and Garo, the Khasi Jaintia tribe is an Austro-Asiatic race. If you read through different books, you'll find that it's not very clear actually the route, the migration routes. Some people think it's from China, then you went to Myanmar, then you went to Cambodia, and finally came here. Of course, we have our own origin myths, and we don't want to go into that. But historically, we seem to have come through the Austro-Asiatic route, through Cambodia, and we are the only ones who are not Tibeto-Burmans. The Garos are Tibeto-Burmans. We are the only Austro-Asiatic race, the Mon Khmer race we call ourselves. And then there are many subgroups amongst the Khasis. Those who live in the uplands are called Khanriam. Those who live in Jaintia Hills are called Panar. Those who live in Reed Hills are called Mois. Those who live in the western part of Meghalaya, they are called Maram, Saupra and all that. How many districts do we have in Meghalaya? Say again?
I'm not sure, maybe 7.
We have 12. We have 12 districts. We have 5 of them in Garu Hills and 7 in Khasi Jaintia Hills. And the biggest district used to be West Khasi Hills with 3,800 square kilometers of land. And the smallest was Southwest Garu Hills with only 822 square kilometers. So because West Khasi Hills was so huge and governance was difficult, it was bifurcated, and in 2021 we have a new district called Eastern West. I don't understand this name. This name has created a lot of confusion. Many people don't understand why it's called Eastern West. So that Eastern West district is another district, the last one, created in 2021. I don't know if we can have any more districts, because it's okay to create districts, but it's difficult to find the resources to manage those districts. The only reason why people keep demanding districts is, you know why? Why do you think people keep demanding districts? Government will say taking administration closer to the people, right? And the people think creating a district means creating jobs. That's why every little place now wants a district. But there's a limit to how many districts you can create. Also, we have to understand that all these states in the northeast, there are 7 states, and I don't count Sikkim as part of northeast because it's not Bengal. It's just tagged to the northeastern states because of administrative convenience, because we are all under the Northeastern Council, and now we have one more level of governance called the Department of, or rather the Ministry of the Northeastern Region, MDONA. So all these 7 states are not economically viable. They are all largely dependent on the center for every kind of help. So it works on the model of 90-10. 90% of the funds come from the center, 10% from the local revenue generation. And because of that, you'll find the politics here also veers around that line, Whichever government is ruling the center, the people from here, the state governments from here will willy-nilly want to be with that government. They think that being with a friendly government is better than being with an opposition government. So all of the 7 states now are either in coalition with the BJP or full-fledged BJP governments. If tomorrow another party comes to power, everyone will shift. In Arunachal Pradesh, once we had a whole 59 MLAs shifting overnight to one party, and only one guy remained as the opposition. So these shifting loyalties are very common in the northeastern states. The British came here to this region after 1826, after they had signed the Treaty of Yenanguru with Burma. So they came, at least to this region, they came via Sylhet, which is in present Bangladesh. They came up to Cherrapunji, which we now call Saurang, and over there, they also invited the missionaries to come and set up schools. So 2 schools were set up, rather 3 schools were set up in 1833 at Cherrapunji by an American missionary called Alexander Lish. But that was just a primary school. We only got a high school in 1867, and that high school was set up in Shillong by a gentleman called Jibon Roy Myron. Jibon Roy is a great legacy. He leaves behind a great legacy, and he belongs to what we call the Sen Khasi, the Khasi indigenous faith. He never became Christian, and his family continued to nurture the indigenous faith even today. So we got the first high school in 1876, but we got our first script because we were a scriptless people. We didn't have a script of our own. We are an oral tradition people. We rely a lot on the history of today from what we heard from our wise elders. And oral history can be constructed any way we want. So we don't really have very, very authentic sort of history of our genesis. Much of what we have today is from what the British have journaled. The British are very good at journaling every little thing they encounter every single day. They put it down in their diary, and that forms the bulk of our historiography. So in 1947, we have what we call these 25 Khasi states. There were 25 sort of principalities, and each principality was looked after by a scheme. I wish I had a blackboard here.
Yeah, you can.
Who is there?
Can you just
No, sir. Open a mini board.
Yes, just be over here. And can you remove?
So this scheme, and we have these schemes even today. There were 25 such people, rulers, and they ruled over small little principalities, but they considered themselves to be to be upholders of a certain democratic system. In fact, when the British came to this area and they observed some of the meetings that were happening between the same and the people, they wrote down there that it was the most democratic tradition that they observed. Of course, for them, democratic didn't mean gender equity. At that time, gender was nowhere in the picture. So these Khasi states signed what we call the Instrument of Accession in 1948. Before that, they signed what we call the Standstill Agreement. And according to this Standstill Agreement, all the administrative arrangements which existed at that time between the so-called province of Assam, we were part of Assam state, and the Indian Dominion, on the other hand, and the Khasi state, so this was a trilateral kind of arrangement, would continue to remain at a status quo level, unaltered, for 2 years until new arrangements were made. So the Khasis actually did not agree to be annexed to what we call India today. Okay? We were not part of the Indian subcontinent, not subcontinent, the Indian administrative arrangement. But there was a lot of pressure on these aims at that time. Then when in 1948, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel came and put a lot of pressure on these aims. Many people say it was almost at gunpoint. These aims were asked, would you like to be with Pakistan or India? They had to choose between Pakistan, that was East Pakistan, and India. And after a lot of consultations, many of these aims decided that they would like to be with India. Okay? Out of the, wait here, let me just check this now. So out of these 25 aims, about 10 of them did not sign the Instrument of Accession immediately. In fact, one of them, the aim of Nongstoin, he didn't want to be part of this annexation, and so he left and went over to stay in present Bangladesh. And one of his nephews, called Wycliffe's Aim, actually lived there and died there. He was a very great engineer. At that time, he had got an engineering degree from the UK, and he was helping his uncle, this Aim of Nongstoin, to try and tell him that it is not a good idea to sign the Instrument of Accession. Of course, they were all later on pressured. So the first political consciousness of the Khasis, in the real sense, started with what they call the Khasi National Darbar, which started in 1923. So it's exactly 100 years today, 1923 to 2023. They celebrated it recently. They would meet at, I don't know whether you've visited the Khasi National Darbar Hall, have you? It would be a good idea to visit and read up some of the things there. It became a place where people met and discussed, especially the need to break away from Assam then. Because Assam had started becoming sort of very suppressive in terms of imposing the Assamese language on all the tribes. So the fight for the separate state started actually in the 1960s, and it was led by a political group called the All Party Hill Leaders Conference, APHLC. And the person who led that group was a gentleman called Captain W.A. Samma, the first Chief Minister of Meghalaya. So this demand for a separate state went on. It started actually from 1955, 56, 57, all through the 1960s. And in 1969, the parliament accepted a bill for recognition of Meghalaya as a separate state. We have what is called the Northeast Reorganization Act. Under that act, different states were created. So finally, it was only in 1971 that the Parliament passed that bill. But it was in January 21st, 1972 that we became a separate state. Indira Gandhi came here and declared this a separate state. So from that time till date, from 1972 till 2022, we've completed 50 years. In these 50 years, we have had presidents rule twice. We've been a very unstable state politically. In 50 years, we should have had 10 chief ministers, right? We had, I think, about 27 chief ministers. That was how unstable we were. Only 3 chief ministers could complete their terms. So in such an unstable situation, what do you think became the casualty? Governance. There was absolutely no governance. All of these chief ministers would only be trying to ensure that they are not toppled the next day. In fact, in the last 2 ministries, we've had stability. Dr. Mukul Sangma was there from 2013 to 18, and then from 18 to 23, you had Bharat Sangma, and I think they are relatively stable now. But still, we've never had a government of one single political party. It's always been coalitions. And history tells us that this state was the first to have started having a coalition government. Parties coming together, helping to form governments, and then with every election, each of the parties will go separate ways. There's no sort of pre-election coalitions. It never was and it never could happen. So, that is the thing about political parties in Meghalaya. The Congress party, in fact, was ruling this place for the longest time, up until 2018. But there was so much of inner party squabbles. You don't see that happening too much in other parties. But within the Congress party, their chief ministers would go down to Delhi, negotiate, and ask the party high command there to keep them on the chair. Then another person will also want to go and demand the same thing. It was a very bad scene. I think people suffered the worst. And then we'll come to the different tiers of governance in Meghalaya. The first tier, the grassroots governing institution, is the Darbar Shillong. These are village councils. I think you are under the Darbar Shillong or Nongkrian. So every locality, I don't call it village, in the urban areas, I think we are localities. Every locality has a Darbar Shillong. It's a traditional institution. People are not elected. There's no election, so we select people. And there are no women to hold office, because tradition says women cannot be allowed to hold office in these bodies. In fact, in the earlier years of Khasi society, it was said that only people who had grown moustache can be members of this darbar. Now, of course, nobody grows a moustache, or they grow it for different reasons. So then, this is like a little civic body, because we don't have Panchayati Raj, no? So this has taken the place of the panchayats. In fact, when the Panchayati Raj bill was passed, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Mizoram were left out, because we were told that these are states that already have functioning traditional institutions. I think those who came and did their research here didn't do their homework very well, because by not bringing the Panchayati Raj institutions here, what is happening is that these darbars, they don't get any funding at all. There is no government funding for these darbars. The headman, called the Rangwa Ashram, works pro bono. Can you imagine? He has to give so much of his time. Every evening, they have a little office. Everywhere you'll have a little office. People come for their all kinds of work. And the Rangwa Ashram, the secretary, then we have what we call the Rangwa Dong. A shnong is divided into little dongs. Dongs are smaller units of the shnong. So those also come there, and they deliver whatever they have to deliver to the people, but they are not paid. So how do they sustain themselves? We all have to pay a monthly fee to the darbar, and that monthly fee is used to help manage the garbage collection system, help to do minor repairs of water pipes, do minor repairs of bulbs that are put up in the street lights. So this is how the Darbar Shnongs function. And because they do not have any resources, they are very, very dependent on the MLA. They have to be dependent on the MLA. So sometimes when the MLA brings what we call the MLA schemes, you know what is an MLA scheme, no? Local area development scheme, like the MPs have local area development schemes, so MLAs have that. Then they try and implement all these schemes through the Darbar. Somehow the darbars get, some of their people get the contract work and all, that's how it is. But I think there's a lot of thinking now that the darbars need to have some amount of central funding. But how to go about that should have been the task of another institution we'll be talking about. So, after the Darbar Shnong, you have the other tier, or the Darbar Rai. We pronounce this as a Rai, not Rai, R-A-I, because A in Khasi is A, so it's Rai. This Darbar Rai is a conglomerate of the Darbar Shnong. Many Darbar Shnongs form a Darbar Rai, and many Darbar Rai form the same ship. So the highest level is the same ship. And this continues even to this day. Now, above all these institutions, what do you think there is? What institution is there that actually, caters to the needs of all these different entities, or that has a supervisory role? We have the district councils. We have the district councils. We have the what we call the autonomous district councils that were created under the 6th schedule of the Constitution. So this 6th schedule became part of the Constitution after a huge debate. Many people from Assam did not want the tribes to have the 6th schedule because they said that, you're bringing in a bifurcation among people, it is not fair. But finally, Dr. Ambedkar ensured that the 6th schedule was included in the Constitution. And this 6th schedule then gave birth to the district councils. We have 3 councils in Meghalaya: the Khasi Hills Autonomous District Council, Jaintia Hills Autonomous District Council, and the Garo Hills District Council. You might want to know, what do the district councils do actually? They have control over all the physical resources of the state, from rivers to forests to what you call the mines. The state has a lot of coal, a lot of limestone, and if you've been traveling around, you will have seen how exploited the hills are. Every day about 300 trucks of boulders go to Bangladesh. An equal number of trucks carry limestone to Bangladesh. Then you also have the Lafarge mining project in Shillong and Montreal. Lafarge is an international cement giant. It mines limestone from Meghalaya. It sends the limestone through conveyor belts to a place called Chatak in Bangladesh, and that's where the cement is manufactured. So all our resources are going out. We used to get 600 crore annually revenue from coal mining, from coal transportation. In 2014, National Green Tribunal banned this coal mining. And the reason for the ban is because we were adopting a method called the rat hole mining. If you go to East Giant Hills, you'll see these rat hole mines. Some of them have been abandoned. So you go 200 feet down and then you branch out parallelly, to dig out all that coal. It's a very dangerous activity because several miners have been trapped underneath. How they have been trapped is when you keep going parallelly like that and digging coal, you suddenly dig into an abandoned coal mine, and that abandoned coal mine is filled with water. So all that water comes in, and this has happened regularly until the NGT found it out and then said we should put an end to this very inhuman kind of activity. But even after the NGT banned coal mining in 2014, in 2018 we still had a huge disaster in East Giant Hills again. At that time, one person managed to come alive. He managed to get out of that hole, and he was the one who was able to tell the story. 15 others were there. The Indian Navy officials came, the Air Force officials came, Indian Navy divers were down there for several weeks, but they couldn't recover any of the bodies. So now the High Court of Meghalaya has become very, very strict on mining activities. It's monitoring all the activities very well. The Chief Justice himself keeps going to Garo Hills and East Giant Hills to check whether, some surreptitious mining activities are going on. So it's difficult for anyone to keep a check on such activities. It still continues because it's the only livelihood that some people know. They haven't been able to get out of that livelihood. So, what else do I have to say? Yeah, the district councils, yeah. So the district councils actually have a law court of their own, where cases between tribals are adjudicated. So cases between two tribals are taken up by the district council members. They don't have enough infrastructure, so there are many cases pending there, especially POCSO cases and rape cases. A lot of them are pending there. I don't know, the last time we asked it was about 5,000 cases. I don't know how many there are today. Then let me come to the to society, this society. Many of you know about this society, no? What society is it called? Matrilineal. What does matrilineal mean?
Mother inherits the property.
Mother inherits property. It means lineage from the mother's clan line. Okay? All the children will carry the mother's clan name, not the father's. And there are, people speak very wildly outside of the state that it's very difficult to be in a Khasi society because the man has to go to the woman's house. It's not like that. It's only a man who marries the youngest daughter, only that person will have to go and live in the house of the youngest daughter with her parents. Because she has the responsibility of looking after her parents till their death. And her home is like an ancestral home. So her brothers and her sisters suppose brothers are divorced, they can come back to that ancestral house and live there. If the sisters are in trouble, they can come back and live there. So this ancestral home cannot be sold unless it is agreed upon by the maternal uncle. In this society, the maternal uncle or uncles play a very important role, have played a very important role. That role is dwindling now because we are now tending towards living very nuclear lives. The uncle must be living very far away, unable to come and look after the affairs of his sister and the nieces and nephews. So now the role of the uncle has dwindled and the role of the father has become more important. Although the British defined the father as the one who has to hunt, bring the food and everything, and the main role of the uncle is just to counsel his nieces and nephews. I think now any Khasi father will tell you that he is taking complete control, complete responsibility for his family. So, somebody said just now, the mothers inherit property, no? It is the youngest daughter that inherits property. And when we talk of property at that time, it's not the property you see today. Today, some families in the Khasi society have a lot of property. And you have 76% of rural Khasis having no land, even to have a homestead. They have no land on which to cultivate. They cultivate on lease-held land. And the lease is of very short duration. If the owner says within 3 years, when you plant something, you want some amount of permanency. If you grow fruit trees, they fruit in 7 years. So what actually we see is people only grow rice, because rice you get a yearly harvest. They can't grow anything that is of a permanent nature. So we found out also in some of the projects that we were trying to implement that it was very difficult to get people out of the poverty trap. The intent of some projects was poverty alleviation, but it became very difficult when we found out that people did not even own enough land to farm on. So that is a critical question now, because we keep saying that land belongs to the people, land belongs to the people. If you talk about bringing any project to Meghalaya, the government's first predicament is how to get land. Unlike other places, you cannot just take over any land here. There is no such thing as eminent domain. So you have to negotiate with people. It takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. And a lot of corruption, of course, happens because there are these local leaders, local land owning mafia and all that. Because it is so important in Khasi society to have a girl, to have a daughter, because the daughter is the progenitor of the clan. Families in the past, this was in the past, I don't think it is very strict today. In the past, those the couples that did not have a daughter would adopt a daughter, would adopt either somebody else's child, either an orphan, or the child of an elder sister or a younger sister, just so that, the lineage is kept alive. Now, that daughter that would come into that family would be called Karak Yin. See, this is something that we don't get from the Roman script. No? We have a word called Yi. This is called Yin. Yin means a house, a home. So this daughter who would be adopted was a sort of enabler for the land to continue, for the lineage to continue. So that is how Khasi society manages. Now we have a lot of problems in the society today, and I think it's important to highlight some of those problems. The problem is that in this society, cohabitation is accepted. Two people living together are accepted by society as being man and wife. You don't need to go and register, you don't need to. In fact, the word marriage is very much a British word, it's a Western word. And the idea of marriage came with Christianity. You know, the idea of these big weddings, marriage came with Christianity. Before that, just the two families would speak to each other, and then a few people would be called, and that get-together would be ordained. And then the children born were accepted as legitimate. But the biggest problem that we see today is that families are very unstable. Women are easily abandoned. And after they are abandoned, there's no way to get maintenance, because you are not registered anywhere as man and wife, number one. Number two, most of the men work in the informal sector. Very hard to find where they are. And they don't come back even to check on their children. So if you go towards Police Bazaar or Laidum Krau, anywhere, you'll find a lot of these women hawkers on the streets. If you take time and talk to them, most of them will be single parents. In fact, some are so poor in the villages, they come here to the city hoping for some meager income. Now, this is something that the society has not begun to think very seriously about, but it's a huge concern, because in the last statistics of NFHS 5, I think, which now I think has been deleted for whatever reasons. Government of India doesn't like that NFHS 5 survey because it doesn't give us a very attractive picture of the country. But in that survey, 42% of households in Meghalaya were shown to be headed by single mothers, which is a single parent household headed by a mother. You can imagine the problems in such households. They will have 3-4 kids and nobody to look after in the daytime because the mother has to go out and earn a livelihood. So we have molestations, we have all kinds of things happening because the eldest sibling will be asked to stay at home and look after his younger siblings or her younger siblings. If you go to the villages, you'll find people still have 9 children, 13 children, 11 children. You know, what has failed in Meghalaya is the family planning program. Even spacing of children doesn't happen. So I think I will stop here today because it might be much better for us to have question-answer sessions than for me to just be doing a monologue. I'll stand here, I'll answer questions.
Yes, you can be comfortable.
In this POXO cases, vis-a-vis cohabitation and marriage, we were actually researching on it and we looked through your articles. So there, as you are saying, ma'am, that cohabitation is a very casualty in Meghalaya, and living relationships are kind of accepted in the society, and the child born out of that is considered as legitimate and accepted. Ma'am, has Christianity somehow been able to influence this system? Or
See, Christianity believed in one marriage. Marriage is forever. I don't think we believe, Christianity to me has not made such a deep impact as it should. And I keep talking to these church leaders and I ask them, what are you doing when you see so many women being abandoned and abandoned with so many children? Shouldn't that be part of the preaching that, you need to space children because Meghalaya has the worst indicators in the country in terms of malnutrition, especially children malnutrition. Then 52% of our women are anemic. You know, anything you look at, any indicator, education, dropouts, we have the highest dropout rate in the country. Then we have what we call a Meghalaya Board of School Education, which has the highest number of failures. That board is going to complete 50 years this time. And in fact, I was talking to the Chief Secretary. He is very, very concerned with this very high total fertility rate in Meghalaya. Every year, he says we have 1 lakh babies that are being produced. In Nagaland, it's about 27,000. In other states, it's 25, 23. We have 1 lakh babies being produced every year. So you can imagine the resource crunch. Where will you have the land? Where will you have anything? So many in the state.
When we talk about the issue related to maintenance, and it is happening because of there is no formalized system when it comes to registration and all these things. So, is there any initiative which has been taken up by the district council or the local governments, and even if the government at the state level, to formalize this particular their awareness or something?
There is a civil society group called Madhya. This Madhya group, led by a gentleman called Michael Same, has been pushing what he calls the compulsory registration of marriages. Okay? That act has been passed in the assembly, but the rules are not there till date. It was passed about 4 or 5 years ago. The rules are not there. So without the rules, how do you implement that? So Madhya was saying that the marriage should at least be registered with the Darbashna, so that there's some legitimacy there, and they can have some papers which they can show in the court. Otherwise, with a kind of, and then you have very high teenage pregnancies. Since you have high dropout rates, so it's evident, what do young girls do? They think getting married is the easy way out. But that man, if he leaves that girl, who's still a teenager herself, and goes with somebody else, and this one also can't stay alone, goes with somebody else, it's a very wretched system actually that we have. And we should be having societal discussions on these issues. We should be having conversations on these issues, but we're not yet into that.
Can I ask you another question, connection? Because that's what we are trying to understanding under the UCC. And there we have basically picked up the 3 things. We have led the marriage, but we have talked about the maintenance, we have talked about the inheritance, and we have talked about the adoption. Because what we found here, it is not a community right, but mostly of individual right. And there should be a uniformity to brought in. Though we understand in our diverse country, we should have a diversity in this entire process. Now, is it possible that we should bring some kind of a legislation relating to this particular maintenance as you are saying, even though there is no formalization of the marriage, and it is a responsibility of the father that if there is so many children, that he cannot just live it like that, and he has made you take up to a certain level until they are grown up. What is your thought process?
I think that's very much needed. In fact, it should have been done long ago, because then it will give the woman some amount of, what should I say, some safety, sense of safety, sense of security. As of today, marriage is, I think, one of the most uncertain things in our society for the large part of the population. For those who are, what we call well-established families, who don't marry too early. In fact, I met with some young ladies in Bangalore. Now, many of our young ladies want to branch out, they want to leave this place and go out. So I was speaking to them and said, are you planning to go back home at some point? No, they're quite happy here. Because there is no pressure on us. You know, if you're here and if you're of a certain age and you're still not married, so many questions, very many questions. There are very few.
But he said that marriage is not formal marriage. Then why this question of marriage? You said marriage is not a formal process.
No, it's not a formal process for many, but for people who are Christians,
Okay.
yeah, you know, and most of the people in this city are Christians.
So tell me one thing. Once you are married under the Christianity, charge is doing the registration
Yes.
of your marriage.
Yes.
So that cannot be treated as a valid document into the court of
It
law.
is.
Registration. Okay. But beyond this, whatever you were telling, this early, child marriage is beyond the church control.
Yes.
But aren't they part of the Christianity, or
They
they are the?
No, they are, but then there's a huge gap there. The church, sometimes the church comes in and confirms that marriage, but then it breaks again, and it breaks again. How many times does the church come in?
So that means the breaking, or divorce is not a formal process. It's just one can break.
No, in fact, in the traditional Khasi system, a divorce means that the two partners don't want to live with each other, so they meet at a particular place and they throw these copper coins. The man will throw that side and the woman will throw this side, and at the end of the marriage.
Okay. So there is no documentation of
No
divorce.
documentation.
Ma'am, I continue with my question with regards to maintenance. When we go by the Supreme Court judgment, it also says that even if you are in a living relationship, you have to pay the maintenance if there is at least the maintenance of the child, if there is a child that is there. So, don't you think that it is most of a legal unawareness which is there within the people, that is why they are not able to enforce the maintenance right rather than the formalized? Because if you look into the Supreme Court rules, of course it will apply to the state of Meghalaya as well.
No, it will, and it should.
Yes, ma'am.
The point is, how do you make that woman go to court? It's, you speak about these assistants, legal assistants and all, but how much of that is really available? You have the State Commission for Women. Every day there's so many people coming there, I'm not getting this and that. But there's a limit to how much...
Even as you also pointed out, the tracking system. If the person is in the informal sector, how do you track?
How will you track and how will you compel him?
Compel that particular person money to come in.
I have had several such people come to me also, although I am not a lawyer or anything. They tell me that, see, my husband was in the police. Then at that time I was able to get some remuneration from the police department because I have a certificate of marriage. But then he dropped out of the police also. Now he's in some other profession, possibly because of some wrongdoing. After that, the things stopped, no? The income stopped coming. No, I think this is a point that really needs to be studied by this university because you're placed here and because it's a huge problem for women.
So, what is your opinion? Your discussion is so nice. What is your opinion between the community right versus individual rights? Because what we examine, people are telling that this is a community right, sacrosanct right, nobody can touch. And then when it is coming individual rights, like I said, human rights, has been put it into the last stage where your constitution guarantees you that you have a right. And right to be treated equally with all others. What is your view on this?
No, we can talk of rights ad nauseum, but we have to be able to claim those rights, number one.
Correct.
And to claim those rights, we have to have enough awareness. When you talk of poor women who are barely living from hand to mouth, unless there is an institutional assistance, it will be very difficult for them to stand.
Right only come when your stomach is full.
Yes. So you talk of reproductive rights, you talk of anything. People don't understand those rights. I have been going with the university faculty to different places, to create awareness on spacing, family planning, and we took some condoms with us. We took a dildo. Those women, they were so shy that they don't even look at us. Then we said to them, this is something you do every night, so reason why many women will not tell their husbands or their partners to use condoms is because they're so afraid the man will leave. He will find somebody else. You know, marriage is a very, very fragile institution in this state.
Madam, when the cohabitation, just a couple of questions about the cohabitation, which is at what age do people are socially or culturally permitted to cohabit? Is it when they hit puberty? That's one. And two is, how does the cohabitation take place? Is it that the boy and the girl leave their parents' families and set up a new home? Or the boy comes to the woman's house or the woman goes to the boy's house?
No, first of all, two people are in love,
Yeah,
teenagers,
yeah,
then they have sex,
yeah.
then the girl gets pregnant.
Okay.
Then she doesn't inform until, until she becomes visible.
Mm.
Then after that, the parents try to ask who is the man, who is the boy with. Then you start, that boy is also too young to take responsibility. See, this is where we need protected sex, but you can't even talk about it because, society is so hush-hush. No?
What about the sex education at the school level? Yeah?
Doubt that much of that happens. The teachers are not trained to conduct that kind of education. They shy away from, even using the right words because we also lack vocabulary. No? All our sex organs are bad words. So in fact, I've been telling the Counseling Department of NEHU that we need to craft out new vocabulary because we have to be talking these. In fact, now, girls at the age of 10 years, even 9 years, are menstruating. Yeah. So if you don't teach them early and you think they will learn it themselves or you tell them about birds and bees and all that, if you don't do a pragmatic kind of sex education, you're going to have these problems.
Ma'am, I also found the social contradiction over here. That's my, I would not say understanding. That's just I noticed it. That on one side, there's a whole lot of Western influence. The dressing, the kind of songs that they listen to. And on the other side, when I talk to these women, I have talked to a lot of local women as well as cab drivers, their understanding is very traditional and conservative. So this contradiction has been bothering me.
It is a contradiction. It is a contradiction, and you got in between. You don't know where you belong.
Yes.
So we always speak about this identity crisis. And because of this identity crisis, you have multiple other problems.
I'm just trying to understand this cycle of marriage because it appears let's say a man is with a woman, they stay together for 2 years, 3 years, have a baby, and then the man moves on. Now, what happens to that man? Does he find another woman or what happens? Okay.
Yeah, another woman. Sometimes from the same village. So recently we had an awareness program. Then somebody said, why is it that this woman who knows that this man already has a wife and a kid, why is she accepting him? Now, who is going to be the guardian of that?
And what happens to the woman? Does she also find another man? Is that also possible?
Sometimes they find another man, then you have stepfather, then you have very complicated problems. And sometimes stepfather will rape the stepdaughter.
In fact, I have been told, somebody associated working with me, that his father has 32 children. 32 children from a different mother. And he actually hates his father like anything. So, this relationship between the child and the father are very complex here.
Also, you have families that don't have fathers. There is no father figure. You can think of how difficult it is for a woman to be a good mother and father, and to also be having to leave them for the large part of the day. Think about their education. No wonder you have so many dropouts. It's cyclic, no?
Yes. Actually, we are having our legal and society soon where we were thinking of what kind of awareness and what are things which we can associate ourselves So I believe this can be an area where we can discuss a lot, and we'll be requiring a lot of help from your side so that we can be attached with the villages and where we can conduct our legal aid programs. That will be one thing which will be
In fact, in addition, I will also suggest to all of you, you should start adopting the village,
yes.
which has a complex dynamics, right? Where you can give the legal aid, you can give also the educational support. So that particular village can, come out in a couple of years of time, right? And if you can do that, that will be a contribution of the university in the community.
If you can adopt a village like Jongsha or Kharang, which has so many kids, you only have to go to that village to see kids running around, and then the mother is so young. She's carrying one child here and then she's carrying another one here. And then you see kids of 10 years, 11 years carrying little baby behind their back, their little siblings, or they're looking up their bows and feet because nobody can afford to educate them anymore. If you go to those villages and then sort of do a survey, do a database of how many single parent families there are. And also maybe be in touch with one of the educational institutions there and see if there can be an awareness program at class 4 or class 5. You can just do a test check to see if the institution would even welcome that. Especially Christian institutions. They're so kind of overzealous and protective, and I don't know.
I'm also every society has its contradictions, and I study sociology.
Arun, just a minute. Well, we are all talking teachers, but I want that the students should come up, right? Yes, Arun, continue.
Yeah, there are contradictions. So one of the contradictions, of course, here that really strikes me is that there is a very strong tribal identity. And at the same time, there is a very strong influence of Christianity. Now, to any student of the social sciences, those two would seem like they're contradictory because Christianity, of course, comes a lot later, and these tribal identities and their traditions and their religious or beliefs go far, far back. So how do the two exist, and how has Christianity been so successful?
No, I don't know successful in what way. You have to define.
In terms of the numbers of Christians that are there.
So you're looking at numbers only, but you're not looking at influencing their lives. What sort of influence does Christianity have on parenting, on family planning? Shouldn't Christianity have some responsibility in these critical areas? How many families is it helping to sort of bring up their kids without paying for their education? How many families is it helping to reintegrate into the educational system? There are so many dropouts. What is the church doing to pick up those dropout kids and to bring them for a sort of a remedial education?
But the education system largely run by the child, right?
No, see, the church has done phenomenal work in terms of providing education and healthcare. Those were the first two things that the missionaries did. But over the years,
They are not sufficient.
it's like you are in a rut. You become commercial, you get school fees, you tend to sort of forget there is a life beyond that educational institution.
Yeah, sure.
In fact, if you ask me, I work very closely with the Ramakrishna Mission in Cherrapunji. They are doing much more outreach work. Those Maharaj, they go to the villages and they tell the parents to send their kids to school and not to worry about the fees.
Yeah.
Then they give them 2 sets of uniforms free every year, shoes, school bags, books. That's how you integrate those who are out of the system back into the system.
We have one of those students here also, Dabyang.
Yes.
Dabyang went to Ramakrishna Mission.
Yes.
Oh, is it?
Yes. And he
Where is
spoke about
Dabyang? He is not here today? Shamya, you want to talk here?
So, good morning, ma'am. Ma'am, when we see about the Northeast and other parts of India, we get a very good picture about it. Like, I belong from the state of Bihar. If we hear of Bihar with its rich culture and heritage, we also get to know there are problems such as illiteracy, child marriage, and everything. But if we see about the Northeast and other part of state, like when I was coming here, I was not knowing that there are so many problems here. Like we always got a very good picture that it has a very good culture and there are many tribes, they have very different cultures which we should go and see. And also ma'am, other question is we have a patriarchal society all over India. So we see that man is a dominating figure, but here if we see matriarchal society, like I have been matrilineal society, I have been into a discussion with UCC in MUN this year. So everybody was saying that this is a plus point here, but as you pointed out that women are exploited very much even from the other states, even it's more here. So why is it like that?
No, when you take part in these discussions, you have to be critical. No? We can't go there with a romanticized notion that everything is all right with our world. There are some things that are good about matrilineal societies in that women are free to pursue whatever they want. They are relatively safer on the roads. They can be around at night without any fear. But that's about it. You know, beyond that, it's all the same. In fact, I've written, I don't know whether you've read my book called Waiting for an Equal World. So I've always said that Meghalaya is a matrilineal with a patriarchal worldview. Our worldviews are the same. And then, if you talk about Bihar and your, what you call the rankings, no? Meghalaya is just above Bihar, just one step above Bihar. So we are not too distant. In our human development indices, we have come very low. I don't know the reasons, but I think it's a multiplicity of reasons. Failure of governance, not reaching the last mile, and our medical doctors, perhaps, and our health workers have not taken it on themselves to really take the message of family planning. Nobody is asking anyone not to have children, but to space. Spacing is good for the baby, for the mother, for everyone.
Even also number of children. I don't know it's right to make this statement or not, because if as a parent if you're going to raise the children nicely, you don't have a right to also get children, right?
So when you speak to women here, they'll say, God has given you children. So I ask them, God has given you children, but God will not be sending you the rice and the other food that you need and the education. What about the education? See, we haven't gotten used to thinking beyond the immediate. Because our education system doesn't teach us to think. It just puts in all a lot of facts.
That's it. Yeah, any other question?
You are the founder of Shillong Times.
Yes.
How has your experience been working in this organization, and basically, ma'am, what are the legal challenges?
No, I'll tell you about Shillong Weekend. We started Shillong Weekend in 1998, and it was essentially for a one-point agenda. We had militancy at that time. It was at its height. We wanted to challenge militancy because we've seen it happening all around. We've seen extortion, and we formed Shillong Weekend when one businessman who was given an extortion notice didn't pay. He was shot in broad daylight in Lightown. So we said we can't be sitting around, we have to do something. So a few of us came together, and we came together with the police also. Police were very much with us. We asked the police, are people coming to file an FIR because they're being extorted? The police said no. So we told the police to put these slogans everywhere. If you are extorted, call 100. Then people started feeling a bit encouraged. And then we called all these people who were extorted. We would meet at the Bosco Youth Center. They would speak up. Then we had these street corner meetings. We also defied the band call by the militant outfits. We could never celebrate Independence Day or Republic Day for the longest time, until the year 2001, 2002. So we would defy that, go out, and then we would have street corner meetings, street plays, just to create awareness in people. Militancy has diminishing returns. Nobody is going to solve anything with a gun. So that was why we formed Shillong Times. Then, by the year 2001-2, these militant outfits began to surrender because we had a home minister who actually, he filed FIRs against those he suspected were being extorted. Now, all these quick trading houses, business people then went to court to get a non-bailable warrant. I mean, to get, what do you call that? So that I'm sorry about the term. Then they had a handle to tell the extortioners that we are not going to pay you because otherwise we'll be arrested. That was when militancy came down. And now, see, they are in talks with the government of India. So we decided as a group that now, since we don't have that threat, so we disbanded.
Ma'am, we know that India is a very diverse country, and I come from my state Jharkhand, where there is a lot of tribes and indigenous tribes everywhere. So why is it that under Article 371A of the Indian Constitution, it provides special provisions only to the state of Nagaland for practicing its customs and everything and not protecting other tribes of the country? Why is it specifically to the state of Nagaland only?
No, it depends on what negotiations your leaders had with government of India. So we had a leader from here, JJM Nichols Roy, who was not going to give up until the 6th schedule was given. And then you had this, and the Nagas were, the government of India made a deal because if you remember, Nagaland is the first to have started an insurgency. It's the longest running insurgency. So they negotiated and they got it, 371. So too Manipur, 371C. It all depends on the foresight, the vision that the leaders have. If we didn't have JJM Nichols Roy, I'm sure we wouldn't have had the 6th schedule. So the 6th schedule was very important for us when we were part of Assam. Because the 6th schedule was essentially to sort of conserve our traditional practices and all that, and our resources. So that is my answer, because I keep coming to Jharkhand for the Samvad, and I hear this all the time.
Madam, can I put a question now? What is your opinion now, the relevancy of the 6th schedule in this changing economy? Because you have started with one statement where you said 90% aid comes from the government of India and 10% from the state. That means it gives an indication that there is no drive from the state to improve the economic condition. So in that particular context, what is your opinion in 6th schedule? That should it be there, should it require to be changed, should this institution, because I really liked your article when you have talked about the governmentation. Is this institutions need to be, recalibrate responsibility, and institutional process need to be rethink so that the state really. And in your process also you have said that there is a lot of revenue is draining out. So that means that the institutional process which has been created at the time to preserve the ethnicity of the clan, actually it is acting against the economy of the state. What is your thought now on this?
See, I have spoken on this a number of times that we needed the district councils when we were part of Assam. It was a protective mechanism. But once we got statehood and the government is run by tribals themselves, there was no longer any need for the district councils. But you know how it is. Once an institution is created, to dismantle it is a big, it has a political cost. And no one was willing to pay that price. In Nagaland, you don't have district councils anymore. In Mizoram, you have it only for those very few tribes, those minority tribes. So that is the point.
I think it is a need to be brought into the data together had to rethink and
No, this same gentleman, Michael Same, had gone to the High Court to say that district councils should be abolished. I don't know, the High Court didn't take a very friendly stance on that because I think you might want to look up the
yeah, in fact, I've also been told, somebody, I don't want to take name, was doing all this matter. They say there is a time now that we need to do a thorough research that how far these institutions are actually helping in the economic development. See, many of the things, these social causes which you are talking about, the dropping out, social problem, has an economic root cause. Because people do not find that the relevance of education now to take it further. Because they don't know where, as you are telling, that they don't know where I am going to get the employment. Now there is two things happening in my opinion, which I was talking with many of the people here. Some people are getting exponentially richer every time. And there is a large number of people who are really getting poorer to poorer conditions. Right? So I think this is a very good area that we need to gather the data, because data speak a volume, then the perception. And many of
32.7% of people here live below poverty line.
32.7%, can you imagine in an independent country after 70 years? Amazing.
When you were talking about that, there is already a law which has been passed by the state with regard to maintenance and something, but there are rules which are not there.
No, this is
Marriage registration, something. So the rules are
not yet there.
Not yet. So don't you think that we as an NGO can conduct a research and implement and make a, or is there any limitation that has to come from something?
No, there's no limitation. You need to ask legislators why they are sitting on this. Who is putting pressure on them to sit on that act when it's already an act? No?
Will there be a political cost if the rules are framed and it is actually implemented? Because
I think so.
yeah.
I think so.
There will be
Wherever there is a political cost, there will be no progress. In fact, this has been the bane. Everything that you wish to do for the state, you first have to think if you're going to return in the next election. If you take drastic decisions, there's a likelihood of your being voted out. So everyone just sits on everything.
Today, all of you are very quiet. I'm a bit amazed because you're generally not a quiet boys and girls. Huh? Today, teacher are very vocal, right?
Yes. I think we should just take a back seat.
Yeah. No, but see, when you ask questions and others are also learning, perhaps.
Our bosses are not, I mean, as you said, they question, and that's what we teach them, that you should question the status quo. And
That's the only way to bring change.
Exactly. Until you question, nothing will happen. Generally, they are not that quiet, and they generally ask.
So maybe they are bored. Are you bored?
No, ma'am.
Yeah, so if you can ask maybe one or two questions, then we'll.
No, ask us many questions.
I have a question, but I'm like very confused that I'm right in a way to ask this question. Not as in like you.
See, just ask.
Okay.
I don't know whether you remember a quote by Abraham Lincoln that no question is a stupid question.
As in you even stated about the political instability of the state, as in like in these many years how many chief ministers had, and there was no single party who has ruled the state yet. Ma'am, as in if we see, in a sense, coalition government works for the public even at large, because that represents the sections of the society. As in if we see the region of Northeast, we have seen like if a sole party comes to a power, we have seen the condition what Manipur is facing right now, and what we even see some sort in Tripura even, wherein the tribal communities are demanding to separate from there, because the BJP as we speak, they actually work in favor of the Hindus of the particular region. So if we see, even if there is just one party who comes into power, then we can see it can turn out more violence in the state, which can create much more issues than a coalition government.
Coalition governments are good in the sense that everyone participates.
Yes, ma'am.
The only problem is the instability factors. Whoever the chief minister has to placate everyone. In Meghalaya, impose, I mean, for no reason, and you pay them the salaries of ministers of state, give them residential accommodation, pay for their travel, pay for their POL, give them a maid or some assistance. So you are eating into the resource of the state only because you need to keep the government stable, because the moment you try and do good governance, everyone will pull you at the side.
But ma'am, if that does not happen, then obviously those tribes or those community will ask for separation. That if you're not going to look after us, then
When you live in an idealistic world, huh? When a person is appointed from any community, appointed and given some important position with perks, do you think that person actually helps the community in any way? It's the same with Tripura. You know, I am in constant touch with the Maharaja, who's a good friend, Radyo. He said that
it's a very good
it's very difficult to manage these tribal MLAs because everyone is greedy. You know, everyone, you see others doing this, so you also want the same thing. You want a good car, you want a good home, you want the best. How long, he says, how long can I hold onto the values? It's values versus luxury.
Okay.
In the same way, like in order to facilitate all these things, like I have seen in the income, the salary structure of the government employees here, still they are being paid with the fifth pay. And the basic and all, and along with the DA percentage which they are getting, that is very less. So in order to meet with the like living standards which is there in Meghalaya, the cost of things and the cost of living, I don't think the salary structure of the government at many levels do not match with the current.
No, you can't match it with the central government.
No, not central government, but even if you go look into the expenditure just in the state, the cost of living.
The cost of living is high.
Yes.
That's understood, and your DA is going up all the time. So at least those who are in the government sector are managing, and then there's a lot of corruption, of course. The problem is with those outside the government sector. How are they managing it? This state has the highest inflation rate, and the highest inflation rate comes because we have been writing in our newspaper because of the extortion. You know, the trucks that bring fish, they are extorted on the way. The trucks that bring vegetables, that bring...
They have been extorted?
Yeah, they are all extorted. Now they've started speaking up. We hope that something is going to be done. Extortion here is very high, so much so that contractors of the Shillong Road, they've left because they've been extorted. Extortion is one, then you have these different Shillongs. They've already given that land and suddenly they say no, this land, that land. There's a huge problem of any infrastructural work that you want to
It's
do.
basically the economic paralysis creating the resource crunch and that leading to all this kind of...
So even the central government proposed railway project was not accepted in the state, but it would have been a good boost to the economy of the state.
It was not accepted 25 or 30 years ago.
No, even in 2020, I think it was proposed again.
Even now, it's not accepted.
Yes.
And we know the reason. The reason is there's a very strong truckers lobby.
Exactly. Yesterday I was writing about it. The same thing. There must be some lobby.
Yes, it's a very big truckers lobby in Assam.
That is actually what we need. See, anything we do, at the end of the day, you find there is some economic, implication of this. Even, whatever, holding back the tradition, holding back some development agenda not to be allowed, everything has an economic interest at the end of the day.
You were saying something. You wanted to ask something.
I just wanted to ask, as you stated, you founded Shillong BPL in 1988.
No,
And
1998.
1998. And before that, before starting journalism, you were a teacher by profession, right? And you shifted to journalism in 1987. Right?
No,
So what made you?
From 1987, I was writing articles, but I was still teaching. I left teaching in the year 2000 and joined as a full-time journalist.
How your profession helped you pursuing journalism?
See, I've always had this angst for doing some, to air views, to speak on things that are not happening, that need to happen. So I found journalism to be the best outlet, because you can teach students, but how many of those are really going to go out and make a difference?
So there is a message that you have to go out
And make a difference.
There was also an article titled that Maggie noodles killing Meghalaya. Then you stated that people of Assam. I'm like,
I didn't say people of Assam. Please don't misread me. I said vehicles with Assam registration. And also, let me clarify this, because this has gone viral. In fact, I thought if I passed through Assam, I would get stones thrown at me. Yeah, what I said was, we had gone on a particular day for this. I'm part of a group called Operation Cleanup. So we go, if we are not cleaning up rivers, we are going to do tree plantation. When we were coming back, we found this gypsy, a van, Maruti van, which had packed everything from gas cylinder to pots to water to everything, parked by the side of the road. They were cooking Maggi noodles there, and they had thrown all the packages there under train. So I asked them, I said, but why do you have to do this? Tourism means that you add to the local economy. Otherwise, what's the point? You're just you're just increasing the footfalls without any benefit to the state. And this is the problem with tourism in India. That's why we read so many articles about the ugly Indian tourists. So why is the tourist so ugly? It's because he or she comes, leaves behind only rubbish, doesn't contribute to the local economy. So how does it help? And every destination is so crowded that you can't even find peace. Even when you go to the sacred groves, people are chattering and doing all kinds of things there. You've lost the sanctity of that place.
In fact, madam, why can't we help you, or if you can include us into the cleaning of this particular river?
We can. We'll tell you next time we go on a cleanup.
Yeah, I think we'll also join you.
Because I tell you, there are some universities that have been, as Martin Luther University, then you have Kitty Scholar, then you have Veterinary Society. Veterinary Society, blind people come to clean. Blind, deaf, all.
I think all of you should, connect with your faculty advisor, and then you should form a group, and you should keep on going. In fact, at least with madam, you can take some of the river cleaning drive, okay, and which I found, asked many of the people, they said it was a river, now it has become a Nala. And we should be very conscious in, if you can make some effort into this. And I believe you can do a lot, because I was also involved into Ganga River Basin Management. And by the civil society you can do, civil society, institutions supporting can do a lot more. Right, and even you can also think some kind of a creative process which you can include in it. You can also think to suggest that can there be a technology should be brought in, and what is the appropriate technology for this? Because choice of technology is also a very, very, problematic domain. Choice and sustainable, technology for doing this. So let us form a group also if somebody is interested in this.
If you have been following the High Court ruling, the High Court has taken very stern position on the state of our rivers, the state of the Union Dam, and that's why the government is being pushed to do things.
So we can also do many things, looking at the knowledge part of it. We can also look into this policy part of the thing, implementation part, choice of the technology, because I found the choice of technology is a huge problem in the country. Right? Everybody will come with them and then try to sell it, but you don't know what is the appropriate technology to use for your life.
Ma'am, this, this idea about economic development. Now, I mean, when economic development is spoken to with regard to tribal societies, there's that always, debate that comes up between development or displacement, this thing. So how is it, what do the intellectuals or even the populace of Meghalaya think in terms of, opening up Meghalaya to, let's say, because let's face it, I mean, if there is, if there is manufacturing sectors that are being set up here, then it will hit nature. There is no doubt about it. So is there this debate in Meghalaya society as well?
No, there is a lot of thought in the among the intellectual class, and perhaps even the government, that this state cannot have manufacturing industries because of pollution. We cannot have smokestack industries, and yet we have about 8 cement companies in one little district. We don't know the kind of pollution levels that are happening there. Recently I visited Star Cement, showing me the laboratory, and they're saying this is the SPM and all that. But we don't really know, unless you test the people, unless you. So what we need are clean industries, and the software technology industry is the best.
Yeah.
That 24/7 AI now is established there, that software technology park. If groups like that are able to come in and are not disturbed by extraneous circumstances, then we can grow.
Even ICT can be a major domain. ICT, software, automation, ICT, which are a cleaner technology. Maybe some kind of a eco-friendly technology which neither emit the gas or not otherwise pollute the water. And in fact, it will be good for if we can do it in the university to list out that what are the technology can be identified to be a manufacturing hub or maybe the operational hub for the state. I don't think that clarity also there.
It's not there.
It's not there in the mind.
It's not there. So the Chief Minister has been saying we want to grow into a $10 billion economy. The question is how, where, and where will this money come from?
Exactly.
You have to have a roadmap.
Exactly. Clarity that what kind of a technology, because I was talking with number of the people in the government, and I found people don't have any clarity that they are talking about the technology, but what technology they should bring it here for the purpose of manufacturing. And let me make this particular statement, madam, please don't mind. I found this society has a lot of contradiction. You will find a highly trained individual here, intellectually very, very sound, right? But when you look into the industry, there is a
they have to move out.
process. They have to move out from this particular state. I did not found kind of a city which Shillong is, and type of the skilled manpower which is available here in this particular city, who has been taught different part of the country, not only country, internationally. And they are here, but when you find the industrial development, he is there. I mean, it's a huge contradiction. I don't know, that's what I was talking with her. It's more of a governance failure or the policy failure which we are adopting here, and what you are looking into this. And this is correct. Until you bring the economic development, and there is no problem in doing that, you cannot change the societal this fragmentation.
So in 1994, 95, about 5 of us, we sat through many months. We did a lot of brainstorm because we thought that this state needs an economic development council just to show the roadmap, on which trajectory should Meghalaya take off on. We have to do that. So we then finally compelled the government to pass this act. It's called Meghalaya Economic Development Council. We have that council now. It's just stagnated. It just, you just appoint one MLA there to be the chairperson, and nothing has happened. And sometimes you also get into a fatigue when you've done so much, put in all effort at our own cost. We sat day after day, month after month, and we had said to the government, this is the way it should be done. You should have MLAs from the ruling, MLAs from opposition, civil societies, professionals, and let them brainstorm there. But no, it's just stuck in the mud.
In fact, ma'am, if you allow me, in addition, when I came here, I met with several ex-bureaucrats who we have. Then, as usual, I share my idea with everybody that, see, we wanted to create this kind of university with a highly technology-driven and all this. They listened to me and they said, is it possible? That was a question. I was thinking, what is the possibility? Everything we can do into this thing. And so we did it, we delivered it. I mean, it is 6 months time, we have delivered, we have run the university successfully. So the meaning thereby, what I am taking a clue from madam, it is only the ownership that will you want to deliver it. And there is no doubt that you cannot deliver, because we are using the technology which is the best. Possibly many of the universities in the country don't have this kind of technology, including IITs. But we could deliver it, and it's also not very costly, right? Within that we have delivered this thing. So the thing is, do you own?
Yeah. So you need institution builders. You need somebody to drive the dream, no?
So ownership, the moment, and what madam, we have tried here, that everybody should own this idea.
Yes.
And what you have said over the time, now you might have seen, everybody is owning, government is owning, member of the civil societies are owning, all intellectuals are owning. Yesterday night I was discussing and with one person who was an ex-technocrat in the thing, and he is a student of IIT Delhi. He was a student of IIT Delhi, and then he was become a technocrat, a highest position in the state. He said, Professor, we require this. The problem, everybody of us know that we require this, but nobody is delivering this. So that means all of us has to own it and we have to push it. That's it. This is possible.
We need some kind of revolutionary thinking. But we also need a few leaders who will, stand out. Otherwise, we are churning in the same old place, not getting anywhere.
So that's the reason, we keep on telling madam, we use the phrase here, that you should be leader in your own space.
Our tagline is also that.
Yeah, we are
empowering the future
leaders, the next generation of leaders.
Yes, you are actually.
Ma'am, there's one personal question that I want to ask, as in related to Shree's question. Ma'am, there is a question that has been raising up since past 7-8 years, that the journalists are not free in the country. So as in a stature that you hold, that you have hold many national awards even, so you might have been in contact with many of the national journalists even at national stature. So what do you think? I just want to know your personal opinion, as in does the state listen to the journalist, or is your voice heard, or is it that what is we hear from the the people or the liberals, that the voice has been suppressed of the journalists, and whatever we hear, it's the government who speaks up, it's not the voice of the journalist?
I can speak for Meghalaya. We are not yet in that space, where freedom is being throttled every day. But we know that in the rest of the country, more than half the media is compromised. We call them the Godi media. They're only sort of narrating the government line. And very few of, just a very small section of the media today, the Wire, maybe the Hindu, that are really able to speak up at great cost. So many court cases, so many this, that, and the other. So we are, even here, I had a court case against me just because in 2020 June, I remember some boys had come back from their studies, and they went to play basketball in a certain locality which is tribal dominated, and they got beaten up. There put up a Facebook post. I said, what is this that's happening? You know, why can't the localities be safe? If young people can't play, then what do they do here? And then I asked the Chief Minister what he is doing. I asked the village darbar what it was doing. I asked the police what it was doing. I questioned all of these. So an FIR was filed against me that I'm trying to create communal friction. So then we went to the High Court. The High Court didn't agree to quash that FIR. They had to go to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court quashed it in March 2021. So that's the kind of, so your freedom may not be quashed just by the government, but by other players, other actors as well.
What is the tension between the tribal? How much, let's say, what is the degree of the tension between tribal, non-tribal?
It started in 1979. So, the Bengalis were the victims at that time because it was felt that they were taking away all our jobs. You can always have that victimhood syndrome. You can continue with that forever so that you can do harm to someone. Then a few years later it was against the Nepalese. Then it stopped subsequently. But the tension prevails, it continues. Every time you hear arguments, why are the non-tribals getting this, getting that, getting that?
Any word on who is playing victim currently between Israel and Hamas?
Who's playing victim? You watch. I think the best channel to watch now is Al Jazeera. They're very objective.
Okay.
Otherwise, you don't want to watch CNN, you don't want to watch BBC, they're all on the side of Israel. And we know, I am on the side of truth and justice. I don't agree with the Hamas, the kind of terror that they've sort of liberated now. But what else can they do? When you've reduced their living space to nothing, and you were created by these white supremacists, sorry to use the word. Israel's been created after the First World War. Yeah? So then you start taking over. How fair is that? And for how long can people take that? When they're fighting back.
But don't you think that it is same impact as like you're talking about the victims of Hamas and Palestinians, but you don't think that Israel is a country which fought back from nothing to gain something? It is also still fighting for its people. As Israel was starting, it was about no land, and now it has attacked many countries. I know that it is a bad history about it, but still it is like they had the situation of do or die or to have something. So
no, you do or die. No, you want land at the cost of somebody else's land. How just is that?
But at that
Why no? My question is, why were they settled there? Why were they not settled elsewhere in the West? If the Europeans and the Americans were so concerned, why didn't they create something for them there? Why choose that place?
Because it was earlier the land of Israel only. It was their native land.
No, I think maybe you need to read the Bible a little bit to understand where.
it's not like the native they are saying. It's not the
It is just Al-Aqsa Mosque itself has a long history.
Yes, so I think there should be another session. We have to get it because it is already almost 2 hours we were talking. Madam, I have a request to make to you, and you don't have to commit right now. We have a advisory program, which is advisory course which we call. It's a legal journey for the journalist.
Already told my students.
And you have told him?
Not ma'am, I've already told my students to request and I will come with them with that request.
Well, so I'm telling on your behalf.
Absolutely, sir.
So, ma'am, we want your presence in the university to create this, because, as I was talking with you about personalized learning, so this is one of the avenues where many people are doing many things. So we want, if you can, give really a mentorship, because I think room is to and if you can give the mentorship, and we want somebody should come out from this university like you tomorrow who can really question the system, right? And things can be better onto this thing. I think few of them has chosen, right?
Yes, there is Prakhar, there is Swapnil, there is Aparajita, and there is Ananya.
So what is this advisory course? It is not stop in one trimester. It will continue over the time. They stay here 5 years. So if they find an interest, they can keep on continuing taking these 2 credits. And these credits are no grading. So either you pass it or you don't pass it.
No, it's very important. Not just journalism, but the entire gamut of communication. If you do not communicate clearly, you're likely to get into trouble. All the wars are fought because people couldn't communicate.
Okay, thank you so much. So we have a very much technical task.
If you have some pressing questions, you can email me at, I think Arun has the email. If you have any pressing questions on things in the state of Meghalaya, please email. Thank you. All the best.
And I think whatever the madam today, raised, there is a hell lot of